Oil, specifically crude oil. Yeah. It's one of the most profitable resources on the planet. It plays an important role in our country and the economy. It powers our cars, it heats our buildings, and it's used to produce electricity. Because of the wide range uses of oil, it is in high demand, and where there's demand, there is money to be made. Now, there is no surprise that people will sometimes do questionable things for money, some more questionable than others, depending on how much money is involved. But would you condemn an entire country and its people for it? Hopefully not, except someone already has, and that someone is a company called Shell. The country Shell decided to prey upon is Nigeria. Nigeria is well known for its oil reserves, being ranked 10th in the world for oil reserves and 15th in the world for oil production, according to worldometer.com. Shell, a multinational oil and gas company, shares a hold of Nigeria's LNG, the country's natural gas production project. Nigeria supplies the United States with barrels of oil through Shell, which has 12,664 gas pumps located throughout the country. Being Nigerian myself, I'm shocked by the effect one company has had on my home country. I would like to speak on the depth of Shell's influence on Nigeria, how it began, how it incited corruption, and the effect it's had on the people. In 1931, the Royal Dutch, also known as the Shell Group, created and implanted the first shell company in Nigeria. At that point, Shell couldn't just start mining oil without consent, so they gave the Nigerian government an offer. To gain access to the country's oil extraction infrastructure, Shell promised to help develop Nigeria, give it jobs, and give it a foreign investment. Throughout that year, Shell was granted licenses to explore, find, and drill oil from oil reserves. Soon, Nigeria would be actively dependent on Shell for keeping 1,000 oil wells running. Furthermore, according to me, with 95% of Nigeria's exports being oil, this then makes up 40% of its total economy and gives Shell control of 50% of Nigeria's total cash flow. What that means is Shell is a factor that determines whether the Nigerian economy fails or succeeds. According to Statista, in 2019, Shell produced 56.6 million barrels of natural gas liquids. In the book Oil in Nigeria by Jades Frinas, he confirms the Nigeria oil industry is extensive due to its industry's long history and its importance for the country's economy. Shell has provided jobs for 2,700 people just in Nigeria Delta across the large amounts of oil extraction rigs in the country. Shell giving jobs to people allowed them to have a steady amount of unwavering support. In any case of Nigeria trying to pull out of their earlier mentioned agreement, Shell and other oil companies could just stop their oil production and put the economy into a deadly decline. In the long run, Shell was able to control an entire country by being the ones with the money. And in the words of Henry Kissinger, whoever controls the money controls the world. Holding all the money, Shell, of course, had leverage. This meant it was able to tighten its grip on Nigeria by bribing and paying out government officials. As reported by the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, a long-running court case centered around the $1.3 billion purchase of an offshore oil block. The prosecution suggested that the money was used to bribe Nigerian politicians and officials. The evidence proved Shell was fully aware of where the money was going. Shell knew the money would end up in the hands of multiple middlemen instead of being used on the country itself. The Italian prosecutors also had a reason to believe $446 million of this $1.3 billion was given to the Nigerian president and his subordinates, as released by the BBC. The purchase of the offshore oil block OPL 245 expanded Shell's oil reserves, making the company more money. In contrast, the people of Nigeria that were supposed to benefit from the purchase saw none of the money and received no change in their quality of life. Their own government had stolen from them, and they could do nothing about it. In the opinion of Edesamo Shugemeka, this has proved to be one of the reasons Nigeria remains underdeveloped. The lack of patriotism in elected officials in office leads to the embezzlement of public funds and widespread corruption. In opposition to seeing an improvement in everyday life, many Nigerian residents came to encounter problems affecting them negatively. According to Just Craig, during Shell's operations, Nigerian residents witnessed oil spill after oil spill. In the last decade, Shell has publicly confessed to being the main source of more than 1,010 oil spills in Niger Delta. The daunting amount of oil haphazardly or purposely spilled amounted to 17.5 liters of oil. Livelihoods were uprooted as water contaminated with cancer-causing chemicals was ingested. An example of Shell's carelessness happened in 2004. According to Just Craig, in October of 2004, a Shell pipeline carrying oil from inland Nigeria to an offshore terminal was suspected to have sprung a leak, as residents of the village of Gore reported their main water source, quote unquote, running black with oil. As if the spill wasn't bad enough, the oil spill would connect with a cooking fire and engulf the water in mangrove forests in flames. Not only was there an oil spill now, there was a forest fire that followed, adding on to the residents' list of problems. After speaking on how Shell began its operations in Nigeria, how its incited corruption and the effect it's had on the people, it has left me with a few words on the matter. To make money, some leave behind their humanity, emotions, and morals, all at the expense of those they claim to be providing a service for. The greed of man is vast and distasteful. For how long we will continue to let it decimate our fellow man? Thank you.